The number one reason that people get networking wrong that I see all the time, and I just don't get why this doesn't click for people, is they think about it transactionally rather than relationally. And I'll explain what I mean a little bit and give some examples. So the main difference between thinking about networking transactionally versus relationally is if you're trying to network with someone, if you break down what that actually means, let's start there. So if you're networking with someone, you're trying to bring someone into your circle that was not previously in your circle. So you're trying to kind of bring in someone to your circle of friends, acquaintances, business advisors, partners, whatever it might be. And if you think about it in the simplest terms, like in reality, what you're trying to do is you're trying to climb the social ladder. And so the place that people get this so wrong is that they think about what, like, if you're trying to network with someone that's a higher status than you, that has achieved more success or is in a position of more leverage or something like that, then they honestly have no interest in any interaction with you that doesn't bring them something. And that's the brutal reality of business and of life. Not just business, but like just life in general. They do not have any interest in just you as a person. People want the version of you that can best serve them. And that's something that is a harsh reality, but it is the truth. And if you pretend that it's not the truth, it does you no service, and it really doesn't help you at all. So if you can understand that and actually think about what it takes to network with someone that's a higher status or has more leverage in life than you, only really wants to interact with you if you bring something to the table. So when people try to climb this social ladder and interact with someone and try to bring in someone to their circle that's a higher status, higher success, or something like that, the mistake I see them make all the time is they just say something along some stupid shit like, let's get coffee sometime, or let's meet and see if there's any synergies or something like that. And if you're feeling called out right now, I hope you do. Like, I hope you really take this to heart and think about the times that you've done this. And I've done this before. I learned this the hard way. Like, I would do that before. I would just reach out and say, hey, let's get coffee sometime. Let me pick your brain or something like that. That one I hate now. And the issue with that is it is a clear communication to someone that has higher status than you that you have nothing to bring to the table and simply want to meet with them just to extract whatever value they can give to you. Like, it could not communicate that in more clear terms. If someone reaches out to me and just says, let's get coffee sometime, I want to pick your brain, the only reason I would take that is because there's some reason, and I do take those sometimes, but the only reason I would take that is that I see that person having some kind of potential to really do something with what I give them. And at the end of the day, it's still like, that might benefit me somehow. So it's more about like planting a seed for me. And that's just the brutal reality of what business is. The more high status someone gets, the more high leverage they are in life, the less time they have for people vying for their attention. They're busy, they're booked and busy. They have things to do, they have meetings, they have businesses to run, they have commitments in life, both personally and professionally. And every ask that they get for their time has to be weighed against whether there's an actual return on that or whether it does something for them. Because real shit, if they've got a business where employees rely on them, they've got a family that relies on them, then your fucking coffee and synergy meeting is not important to them at all unless it's going to help them in whatever their goals are. So the biggest unlock I had for this actually came when I was trying to get into the world of mergers and acquisitions. And to set the context, I was coming off of having run a successful staffing company and actually having sold it to another staffing company. And so I had a little bit of a win under my belt, but I wasn't ignorant enough to think that just that alone would get me in the door with people that were working in this world, because the people working in this world literally buy and sell businesses all the time, all year long. So one little business sale, I mean, it was two for me at the time. I had sold two businesses, but two little business sales, small business sales, were not going to get my foot in any doors. So what I did is I went to the drawing table and I decided I needed to come to them with an offer of some kind to help them that was completely no-brainer. And the thing that I realized is that in the world of mergers and acquisitions, most people get paid only when there's some kind of actual sale that happens. So when a business changes hands, if someone actually buys a business, that's the only time they actually get paid most of the time. And so I realized that their time had to be spent doing nothing but trying to close transactions. And I also knew that like most people that come to them wanting to sell their business aren't actually ready to sell it for what they're trying to sell it for, and that with a little bit of work that they could actually get there. And so I went to these people with the offer of, I said, hey, I'm not a business broker myself. I can't sell someone's business for them and get paid on it. So you know that I wouldn't try to, the subtext there is like, they know I'm not going to try to take their client if they trust me with them. But I said, hey, let me come in, let me help you with actually talking to this person and walking them through the things that they need to do to have their business prepared for sale. Let me spend some time working along with them so that they can be more ready, so you can more easily sell their business for more money and only spend your time doing that, and so I can get you paid more. If you really break that down, what I was offering was for absolutely free to them to help them make more money. Like, completely no-brainer offer. And the truth of the matter is, like, I got my foot in a lot of doors with that, but there was still, most people I reached out to still didn't even take a meeting with me, even though I had a freaking no-brainer offer, because their time is worth so much to them. And I was fucking new to the game. They didn't know if I was actually gonna be able to deliver on something like that. And so the next part of it is I reached out to probably 600, 700, 800 people that were in that industry on LinkedIn. I spent a lot of time and actually a lot of money doing an outreach campaign to all of these people, to hundreds and hundreds of these people, before I actually found one that was willing to entertain this. I found a few that were willing to entertain it, but the truth of the matter is, like, even when I got my foot in the door and they would take a meeting with me, I had a few dozen meetings with these people, and even when they would take a meeting with me, there was suspicion that there was some ulterior motive, or that I was trying to do something sneaky or something like that. And like, a lot of times it would go nowhere still. And so it was only when I got my foot in the door and started building a relationship. And this is really the way that you have to do it. So my second point, aside from coming to them with some value that you actually bring to the table, something that you can do for them that they can't do for themselves, is you actually have to focus on building the relationship. And I can actually say, as of this moment, that I've actually become an associate broker for one of these business brokers, where I can actually make part of the commission if I help him sell a business. And it's not until about 6 months later into having a relationship with him and showing up every single week on morning meetings with him that he actually was willing to entertain this. And it's because I really got my foot in the door, brought ridiculous amounts of value, and helped him without asking anything except possible upside if there is like some kind of like work to be done. And I didn't ask for any pay in the meantime. And I did all of that knowing that he was much higher status than me, much higher leverage in life. He had sold tons of businesses, many for himself, many for others, had made millions of dollars doing this. And so he was much higher status, much higher leverage than I was. And so I knew that I needed to prove my worth and make myself someone that he felt like he could trust to actually do the work and do the job. And only at that point, only at that point was he willing to trust me with that. So to sum things up, if you're trying to network with people that are higher status and higher leverage than you, you have to come to the table, to the negotiating table, so to speak, the negotiating table of their time itself, with something real to offer to the table. And if you just reach out and you're like, hey, let's get lunch, or let's get a coffee, let me pick your brain, them taking that meeting, like, even if they do take that meeting, they probably just aren't as high status and high worth as you thought they were. Because real shit, if they are taking that meeting, they're taking their time away from their ultimate goal and the thing that they should be working on. And this probably sounds really harsh, but the older I've gotten and the longer I've been in business, I've had to be more shrewd with my time in this way. And sometimes that means ignoring texts, or a lot of times that means ignoring messages. I get freaking hundreds of messages a month that are just reaching out to me. Like to give you a real example, people literally reach out to me almost daily offering to edit videos for me for free just to get their foot in the door. And I've just had experience trying that before, and I know that most of them don't do a good job. And the ones that are like just spamming a bunch of messages like that, it's not worth my time to try them out, because it's going to be costly for my time, even though they're offering something for free. So like, even when you have something for free like that, it still might not work, and you still have to play the numbers game of reaching out to lots of people and talking to lots of people. And so I hope that this really just hits you in the gut if you're someone who thinks that you can network by being transactional, by just thinking about what someone can provide to you in return, and you don't actually focus on building a relationship, because I promise you that will not get you very far. It might get your foot in a couple of doors, but those doors are not going to stay open for long. And if you really think that you can make it that way, you're going to fall flat and you're not going to go far.